Alberni. Mr. Johns, welcome to our committee, and so right now we're going to turn over to the NDP, and you're splitting your time with Ms. Ramsey.
Yes.
So go ahead, folks.
Thank you, Minister, for being here today with your team. In southwestern Ontario, where my riding is in Essex, we're on the border of the U.S., and what I'm hearing from business owners is about the high cost of doing business. Hydro costs are out of control, and businesses are looking at leaving to go to the U.S. Greenhouses are heading over the border because they can't afford the hydro costs, and they're saying that they're going to lose out from competition. So a reduction in the small business tax rate would be the best thing right now to help them with their overall costs, and so I have to ask about that broken promise, something that we all committed to on all sides during the campaign, because I think it's incredibly vital, especially in Ontario, to deal with the hydro costs. So will the 2017 federal budget include a reduction in the small business tax rate?
So I have to just take a minute, because I've been working closely with Minister Freeland, and I'm sure MP Ramsey will be working closely with Minister Champagne as well. And I had said it to you earlier, but I'm going to state it on the record. But it's really nice to see that people are fighting for the people that we need to fight for. So I appreciate your constructive feedback. I appreciate you being part of the solution. When it came to consultations and communications that we've had with SMEs, and I'm talking about the people who were in the pipeline and approaching new people, what they wanted was conditions for success. They want programs and services not to be shelved and for government to say these exist. They want to be successful in their application so they can have the outcomes we need them to have. The small business tax rate does not give the return that we believe it does. It's a great soundbite, it's a great headline, but at the end of the day, when you talk about dollars and cents, it does not achieve it.
It's not what they're telling me, though. They're telling me in my riding, when I'm out there and speaking to them, it's not what they're calling and asking for. They're asking for the rate to be cut.
And I would welcome the opportunity for us to continue to communicate together, as well as to have them communicate with my office as well as our team, so that we can see that success, and we want that feedback. We work closely to ensure that we are creating those conditions for success. We know that government does not create the growth, but we can create the conditions for growth, and we can create those opportunities, and that's partly why when it comes to the lowering, and I know this is going to seem like a point, but when it comes to lowering the middle class tax rate, it actually impacts every Canadian of the middle class, and those are our business owners, or those are our customers.
Okay, but you made two promises, so I'm going to jump in here, because you talked about consulting businesses. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business has over 109,000 members. They ranked at #1. Those lowering small business taxes. It was a promise made by this government. The government hasn't honored the promise. I knocked on over 300 businesses in my riding with over 70 volunteers. It was #1 in my riding too. So I think that I want you to take note of that. Another significant cost of doing business is, of course, credit card merchant fees. It's an issue that the NDP has been raising for years, and there's some clear, concrete actions the government can take to help lower these costs and make them more predictable. Of course, our colleague, Madame Lapointe, has Bill 236. I think it's been moved 10 times on this issue, and the House will hopefully eventually debate this. With CETA coming on board, we know some of our counterparts in Europe, they have rates as low as a fifth of what we have here in Canada. I'm wondering what action the government's prepared to take on credit card merchant fees.
So this is a conversation we've been having. What's refreshing about this government is that we are taking the whole of government approach. So when it comes to the Minister of Finance, the Department of Finance, we are communicating with them and engaging with them on a regular basis. When the 22 departments that directly are related, I would say, to SMEs, come together on a regular basis, and we're talking about a weekly meeting, they're able to raise these issues. When it comes to the CFIB, there is many groups that we consult with. I've met with the CFIB, I've met with chambers of commerce, I've met with these groups to ensure that their stakeholders' voices are being represented. We also continue to engage with them. And yourself and myself, you know that instead of calling you a critic, I call you an ambassador, because at the end of the day, we want the same outcomes and we want to see that success. And when it comes to CETA, the opportunities that SMEs will see in export markets with this deal are going to be, I would say, immeasurable. And we know that CETA is going to open up markets unlike any. And I'll tell you, when we know that there's only 12% of SMEs that are considering exporting right now, we need to encourage more SMEs, if they want to consider export markets.
If that's the case, we need to make sure everybody's on an even playing field. If they're getting lower merchant fees, we're not on the same playing field. I also want to make sure that you understand that when we talk about small business taxes and you talk about the middle class tax break, putting dollars into the hands of small business owners, there's no better way of community economic development. And some of the rhetoric we've heard from government.
Sorry, Mr. Johns, didn't want to cut you off.
All right. You got it.
Your time is up. So.
You got the message.